Module 3, The Root Cause of Economic Collapse, Part 1, Audit Profession at its Best.
In Module 1, I made a mention about the causality. It was meant to be the title, where cause and effect were discussed. Invariably, the effect is the one that we talk about. After the event has happened, the ex post facto. Cause is never mentioned. In a huge a disaster like FCPA autonomy or Volkswagen's cheat software costing about nearly $35 billion. And we have Carolone, we have Island FIs. They're all multi-billion-dollar disasters, where the only one who would be going to the courts on a regular basis, I suppose, are the auditors. They are like dummies in a boxing ring. Anybody who enters for a practice, they give a real boxing kick on the dummies. This must change. This is one of the major issues which I am pushing through in the entire course of 9 modules, the corporate citizenship and sustainability. If we want the sustainability of the corporate sustainability, we got to necessarily bring about accountability factors, identify the individuals who are responsible for any misgivings, and it has to be brought to light. It has to be either brought up in the sense if they are weak in their optimum level of performance, to better their performance, rather than succumbing to anything that they want and get away with that. The professionals, other than accountants, seem to be not there. I mean, there is no support system for many of these professional bodies. What are they doing? If a fellow can write a code to flip the votes and topple the governments, what responsibility do they have? Is there any professional body that supports this or opposes it? And we cannot afford to have that even in this century. It's a very important factor, and that's one of the purposes of this particular ABC of cream rating, where auditing, banker, and the concerned company join together but assist independently as to the optimum performance of creating fiscal assets and as well as ethical assets. That is the purpose. I now take you to 1977 when research and development costs exposure draft was introduced. It was published as IAS 9 in 1978. There was a major issue at that time when aerospace industries R&D costs were very high, but they could not allocate between the cost and the capitalization. Similarly, after the Yom Kippur War, there was a multi-billion-dollar re-engineering program in the auto industry. Again, there was an issue with regard to the capitalization. So these are all genuine issues for the industry. But IAS 9 came in the right time as a supporting system for the auditors. In 1977, we also came across Gulf Oil, Lockheed scandals, Penn Central going down, and Prime Minister Tanaka of Japan, Prince Bernhard of Belgium, were all recipients of bribe money, big money. So FCPA Act came at that time. Again, FCPA, even today I'm getting FCPA daily reminder about who are the guys who have been, who had committed into bribery scandal, and it's going on. The participants should look into the utility of such an act, FCPA Act. What use is it? In ex post facto, if the after the event has happened, is of no use. But it's not the case with the auditors. The auditors are meant to do, they are not, as rightly said, we are only a watchdog and not a bloodhound. They are not responsible, they are there only for auditing the events that have already happened. They have no clue about what is the events that are going to happen. So don't blame the auditors all the time, but let every other person responsible in the management have to bring about an accountability factor for themselves. We will discuss that in several other modules which I am going to bring in how to do that. In this case, in 1977, when Penn Central went down and Gulf Oil and Lockheed were scandals erupted, the common auditors for all the three were Pitt Morgan. The president of Pitt Morgan, a gentleman, really did a good thing, called upon the other auditors to come and do the auditing of the auditing methods adopted by Pitt Morgan. Arthur Young was appointed as auditing the auditors, and they gave a clean sheet as to the method of auditing. So if you look at the 1977 scenario with respect to the auditors, which is the important wing of corporate and as well as the government, we in India, we have got more than about 300,000 auditing professionals, chartered accountants that I belong to. Is an amazingly collection of auditing and professionals with ethical responsibility. You go to any of them, the ethics which they have adopted is something to be appreciated. And next only to the Indian Army, very disciplined and very wonderful collection of people. This connected to the nearest to the society, which I am taking in the module 9 as to the connection to the society, how it has to be done. So, being what they are, summarizing of 1977 of GRACE, G for governance. They had this IAS 9. They could govern with a support system coming from the IASB, International Accounting Standard Board. It's a very good professional body. As to govern on any of the intricacies of capitalization or costs, as we came across very many events later, Enron and WorldCom and all that. But in 1977, they had a formidable ally with the Professional Standard Institute. Responsibility is that of the Pitt Morgan president coming out with, undertaking the responsibility that we are conscious about what the society feels about us as an auditor, and as a president, I am going to institute take the responsibility and say that my name is clear. That's a responsibility that was evident. Then you have authority. The authority of auditors were impeccable. And because of the professional support that they get, and now you have quite a number of auditing accounting standards which have come about, the authority that they have over the several transactions that a company has, a single journal entry cannot be passed by them without the support system coming from the main IASB. It's very important. These other professions who have to look into it, how they are doing. They can't write code and topple the government or flip the votes. Very irresponsible collection of people. Then we have C for credibility. The credibility is very much was there at that time. Of Arthur Young, you must have a credibility of another auditor who have got the capacity to do the auditing of auditing methodology of another auditor, which today is lacking. Now, coming to the final one, enable the balance sheet. The balance sheet was very robust. There were no holes in the balance sheet. Whatever that is tangible item was the only one that was given to a status within the four walls of the balance sheet. That being what it was in 1977, let me take you now to 1995 when exposure draft 50 of intangible assets was introduced. Be with me.
Module 3, The Root Cause of Economic Collapse, Part 2, Audit Profession, the Root Cause. We have heard a clear and consistent message on financial instruments accounting. Fix this once, fix it comprehensively, and fix it in an urgent and responsible manner. Sir David Tweedy.
In 1995, when exposure draft number 50 was introduced on intangible assets, there had been a lot of deliberation among accounting world in Europe particularly, trying to figure out how to bring out these intangible assets. It was mainly because of brand value being insisted upon being taken to the balance sheet, shown as a balance sheet. Even from 1984, those who were undergoing this participants of Cream Academy would come to know that they were already including the brand value as a part of the balance sheet in Australia and other places. But the sanction or the clearance from IASB, which was very important, had not been coming through. So finally it came through in 1998 when IAS 38 was published. The intangible assets was the title of it. What it mentioned is that the intangible asset is a non-monetary asset without physical substance. Intangible asset is a non-monetary asset without physical substance. If you can figure out, even today, if you go to find out what exactly intangible means by free dictionary or all those things, it will not say anything about intangible. It's one of the things which we cannot perceive and is out of beyond our senses to know what exactly intangible is all about. This is what exactly has happened when it was announced. Normally, any of the accounting standard, Sir David Tweedy, quite a remarkable person, he had brought out quite a number of changes and to the International Accounting Standards Board as the first chairman. But this must have escaped his attention. The intangible, even though in the accounting standard, intangible assets, all the words that appear like an asset or all those things have been defined, but not intangible, because it is beyond definition. They just like to push that intangible asset as a single word, possibly, in the title. With the result, the accounting standard had emerged without defining what is intangible. It's like a big white dot on a white paper. Industry was very happy. Bankers were very happy. This has ushered in amazing amount of intangible assets coming through and going out, in and out of the balance sheet. But the participants of this particular module are like them to look into what damage it has caused. $4.1 trillion that was in 2007 had been excluded as investment in intangibles. $4.1 trillion, mind you, in 2007, as per the report, had been excluded from the data, United States accounts, data and statistics had been excluded. This what had happened, and besides, auditors, which I will tell that GRACE, the governance part of it had been lost. Once you define an accounting standard without being defining the title of the accounting standard, you have no governance aspect. You cannot tell the guy, go and say, yes, you can put $1 million or $100 billion. It has happened. The AOL had been valued at $335 billion at the time, when after these intangible assets. The intangible assets were considered as more important than the tangible assets. And this is what has happened in 1995 when the exposure draft for intangible assets came. The scenario has changed completely from 1977. When 1977 we saw, beside the FCPA Act, the bringing in of automobile industries and aerospace and pharmaceuticals were topping the list. Whereas in 1995, we saw AOL in internet, Microsoft software, and Micron technology for semiconductors, and Motorola for hardware. They were topping the list. The things have changed very completely. 1995 was also the occasion to celebrate the downfall of financial transactions. One guy, just about 28, by name Nick Leeson, had just went through havoc in Tokyo Stock Exchange. Spinning around $1.3 billion on a single day, that he could not do anything about it. And auditors at the time of Baring PLC, Baring PLC had become insolvent. It was sold for $1.6 or £1 to ING. But auditors of Baring PLC had no knowledge about the derivatives. They absolutely no knowledge. So if you look at the scenario that had happened in 1995 onwards, if you look at to the grades, governance is lost. Responsibility, undertaking the responsibility for anything that was happening around in many of the industries, auditors have lost it. They have not taken any initiative. And rather they were telling that OECD, if you look at that comments, is a materiality and that we are not concerned about what the management does. That was the reply given by the four big audit firms in the OECD conference on anti-corruption. Then authority. What authority did that can have? They can show you a white spot on a white paper and get away with it. And thanks to all these bankers and financial experts, billions have been lost in that. Not billions, $4.1 trillion. I'm sorry about it. Credibility. In 1977, when all the young had the credibility of auditing, the auditing standards of Pitmavic. Now, it's like who among you is not a sinner, take the first stone. And this is what has happened in the audit profession. Finally, it is not enabled balance sheet. It is erosion of balance sheet. You allow certain things which are not cannot be put into the balance sheet, and yet you put in the balance sheet. It has become irrelevant. The erosion of balance sheet is full of craters. There was not a single hole in 1977 when IAS 9, research and development costs were brought in. At the same time, if you look at my another recent analysis, World Economic Forum or stakeholders capitalism metrics, looking for common metrics and analyzing the 21 metrics and 34 expanded metrics for the corporate. Corporate has to be careful. Don't blame anybody else. You have put your money and you have want to have profits and you want to have growth. Any one of these cutting short way of doing things is not those 21 plus 34 metrics that ACM stakeholders capitalism metrics that I have created by World Economic Forum. It's a window dressing. You got to analyze. It is going in the same pattern as these intangible assets. Don't do this windows dressing. And some of the comments I would like you to have a look at it in my report were on governance. Then on we don't have to invent the wheel. These guys have already given the whole lot of what has to be done to GRI and other 4 companies which have been doing certain standard on SDGs. SDGs again is a thing which has to be measured. I want to bring in that when I said about 170 process block, 158 process blocks are qualitative. When we say non-monetary asset without substance is fundamentally wrong. In the case of, if you take any SDGs, if you take Constitution, for example, of India, or Bill of Rights, if you look at that CCP, or if you look at the TQM, look at the various policies that you bring about, whistleblower policy, or if you look at the various aspects of code of conduct that you can bring it as a policy. They are all non-monetary assets, but with substance, physical substance. It is a dark spot on the white paper. It is visible. It weighs a lot. Constitution in India weighs a lot, based on which matter and energy behaves. When you say matter is energy is a liberated matter. That's what we see in the balance sheet. The second law of universe is that matter is one where energy waiting to happen. If you keep that matter as a matter, that is where the second law is NPA. You got to energize. If you create a policy and don't work upon it, and there is no energy being put through to make it work, then it does not become a matter that is energy which is being liberated matter. You have to liberate every one of these things. And you cannot say that is a physical substance without physical substance. It is with physical substance. What is needed is the understanding of what the corporate has to do. All these facilities of 17 SDGs, every one of them is a non-monetary asset with physical substance. How you create a substance? The policy is zero. When Jules won 20,000 leagues under the sea, was an idea. Ethics is an idea. Ethical motive is subtler than subtlest. Ethics is subtle than subtle. That's what it was. Jules won's 20,000. It's all, of course, it was an idea. It was not there. But not till us came into the being. How it comes to being is from nothing. Out of nothing, an idea comes out. Then there are 6 stages totally that brings out to the quality substance. The substance of quality is the matter. That is what the substance is all about. That is how every one of these 17 SDGs and whistleblower policy and all that have come about. So to say that it is a non-monetary asset without physical substance the intangible asset having brought in with $4.1 trillion investments in intangibles have been excluded from the data of United States accounts statistics. We got to think properly. You got to remove it. Sir David Tweedy has to look at it very carefully. There is only one organization in the whole world who looks into the standards in terms of accounting standards. If you look at the 158 of all these SDGs and all that, they are all non-monetary assets with physical substance. They are the ethical assets of the company. Whereas the fiscal assets are the one which is quantitative. The ethical assets are the one which is qualitative. When I say intangible asset is an oxymoron, I would like my participants to question why ethical asset is not an oxymoron. It's an important aspect of development that we have to do, and we got to necessarily scrap this IAS 38 intangible assets. Scrap it completely. It is a meaningless accounting standard that has come that has ripped apart everybody. It allowed the behavior of bankers as they wanted, and many financial companies have gone down the drain. And corporate, what do you want? If you want to be in business to increase the profit and growth, what exactly you want to do? To get money from all sundries and do enjoy your life or that sort of thing. It doesn't happen. This greed has spoiled everything. So scrap IAS 38, intangible assets, and reinstate IAS 9, research and development costs. Then your balance sheet is intact with tangible assets. You create another ethical assets balance sheet. I will tell you how to do that. There's no problem. That is what the next module I'll be looking at about defining intangible. It's a very important aspect of business management. Then we're creating how to create ethical assets. So please be with me, and I'll give this trailer one by one of all the 9 modules. I hope it interests you. Thank you.
Module 3, the root cause of economic collapse. Takeaways. What you will learn. Module 3, the root cause of economic collapse. 1. In Module 1, causality is learned. Between cause and effect, only effect is discussed, whereas the cause of it is normally ignored and forgotten over the time. Here in Module 3 we look at the cause. 2. Auditors come out well backed by IASB, International Accounting Standards Board, on grace, governance, responsibility, authority, credibility and enabled balance sheet, whereas other professionals lack that support from the guidance from an international body for code of conduct, with the result a Wuhan lab scientist or an IT professional coding for flipping the votes and toppling governments lose their character, bringing down in its entirety their own professional colleagues. This must change. 3. The root cause of the economic collapse is identified and the urgent need for plugging the corporate intransigence is spelled out clearly. Skills you will gain. Module 3. The root cause of economic collapse. 1. The root cause analysis of economic collapse provides the necessary info for filling up the knowledge base which is empty now. Bring companies' data to society's table. 2. It is not materiality that is important but material event which has triggered the economic collapse. 3. ABC, auditor, banker, company of cream rating is the inevitable consequence of root cause analysis of the economic collapse that forces the professionals to act in unison from the 3 wings of governance. 4. When individuals take the responsibility, companies would follow. Being conscious of one's professional responsibility would construct the ethical assets that truly belong to the individuals and not to the corporate. About this specialization, professionalism to the core is the issue, which establishes a firm platform for individuals to progress. Institute ethical board for each profession, in the same manner as IASB, that shall help and support individuals to progress. When the professionals are taken care, corporate is taken care. Currently professionals' capability are at a discount because of unscrupulous employers. This must change. Course assessment. Module 3 identifies with individual capability, left unattended as the economic collapse had begun. In 1998, the assessment would be on 3 research reports to be submitted. 1. Should the professionals be a passive onlooker, or participate in the reconstruction of corporate, and how? 2. In what way an ethical board, similar to IASB, would help a professional and respective reporting body? In this connection, write a report on Charles Pettis, Sen Proxmire, Ralph Nader case study, after due research in collecting the info. 3. Should IPR be that of an individual, or of the corporate, current and the future? After completion of this Module 3, you will be able to 1. Assess the lack of professionalism. 2. Agree with Carl Sagan, in our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere, to save us from ourselves. It is up to us, and that we are living in a DIY planet. Time required for this Module 3, 3 hours. Cream Academy, Module 3, The Root Cause of Economic Collapse. Based on the book, different concepts you can look for. 1. The new global brand name, corporate citizen. 2. Blueprint for $1 trillion Indian agriculture economy. 3. Project Elite for knowledge transfer. 4. WEF report, measuring stakeholder capitalism, a step towards corporate civilization. 5. GSDP $1.5 trillion 2024, a template for GDP GNH combo. 6. Cream Academy, an introduction. 7. Module 1, causality. 8. Module 2, who are you? And now 9. Module 3, the root cause of economic collapse. Please see description for details of presentations and availability of book for sale.